Just a quick update. I got some argon, thank God. So brought the hammer into the basement. Ugly, ugly, ugly MIG welds. Not so ugly TIG welds. Not beautiful, but certainly not as ugly and much less grinding. Thanks. So it's a couple days later. I got a little update. So I got this top piece on and welded it on here. The rest of it is cleaned up pretty good. I still need to go over it with the flap disc, but and there's some spots that I'm not going to be able to get rid of because of the stupid porosity in my MIG welds. So no more MIG welding for this. Just tacks, and that's it. And if they're porous, I can grind them off. The other update, let me move this camera back a bit here for try not to make you dizzy. The other update is this. This is the handle that I've chosen. It's just a 3/4 inch black pipe that I sanded down, and I've been having a heck of a time figuring out how to get the rings. You know what rings I mean. The rings that go down the handle between the leather parts. I can hardly hold this, so I'm going to set it down. So there's the leather. It doesn't wrap around cylindrically, no, spirally. There's sections like this, and then between them are rings. And I've tried a lot of things. And finally, this is what I've come up with. I have a little sample here. It fits pretty tight on here. I'll have to tack them on there, but that's the ring. And I imagine I'll flatten it out, like I'll tack it on there a couple of spots with the TIG welder, not the MIG welder. And you can see I welded the two ends together, and which is difficult because it wants to melt away. So it's just TIG welding rod, 1/8 inch, actually it's gas welding rod, R45, 1/8 inch, and so I'll show you how I made it. Let me turn this off and I'll get this set up at my little jig where I made these things, and I'll show you how I came up with it. I would have liked for them to be a little pointier here, like this one's not pointy at all. This side's a little pointy because I made my own little die, as you'll see. So maybe if I turned it around and hit it again on the die. Anyway, let me get that set up and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so here's what I've done. This was the interim, make sure I'm on the screen here. This was the interim handle. It's just a piece, you can see the markings here. It's just a piece from one of those shelves, wire shelves. My basement ceiling isn't very high, so I had to cut this down so I could move it around without hitting pipes. So this was the interim handle. So I'm using, it's just a little bit smaller than the actual handle, which is okay, close enough. Because here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. This handle will fit into, how do people tell when they're I can't, am I supposed to, am I behind it's supposed to be behind the camera? It's the only way I can. So this will fit into this 1-inch pipe. This 3/4 inch pipe will not fit. I mean, I can make it fit, but this is even sanded and it still doesn't want to fit in there. So I'm using this interim handle and I cut a little fish mouth, for lack of a better term. Really pretty crude. I should clean it up a little bit. And then I took another old piece of pipe and I cut a matching fish mouth. So now I've made a die. So if I take support it there, and stay with me here, I took that 1/8 inch welding wire And I wrapped it about as tightly as I could around this 1/2-inch pipe. And it springs back a little bit, but I wrapped it around here. I put a little vice grip. Ah, Jesus. You probably couldn't see most of that. Let me do that again. So, I'll just do this whole part again. All right, so we're back and we're kind of set up here, and I'll show you what I've done. So, here is the actual handle versus the interim handle. The interim handle is just a piece of, you can see the markings on it. It's a piece of that wire shelving support, one of the corners from that wire shelving that you can buy, that I bought. And I had to cut a piece off of it so I wouldn't hit pipes in the basement. So, actual handle and interim handle. Actual handle is a little bit larger, and it will not fit in nicely to a piece of 1-inch pipe. It just wants to, but it will not. But the interim handle does. A little bit of play, but that's nice. So what I decided to do is make a little die. So I cut a little fish mouth, pretty crude little fish mouth, on here that I can sit like that. And I can you see that? Yes, I think you can. Now you can. So I can put my interim handle in there. And I cut a matching fish mouth, kind of matching, and I put points on this one hoping that I would get a sharper corner than that. It's not really working out, but that's okay. I'm not a die maker. So, well, I guess I am now. I made a die. So that's a matching one. So if I sit them here, and I take that 1/8-inch wire, that 1/8-inch gas welding wire, filler wire, and I wrap it around this 1/2-inch black pipe. I get a ring, kind of like making jump rings. I get a ring small enough that it's a tight fit over this handle, and that's what I want. I don't want a lot of extra, I don't want it sliding around on here. I tried it on the 3/4 inch, the actual handle, and I found it difficult to work with, so I stuck with this. So what I do is I take my little coil and I give myself an extra 1/2 inch of overlap. So here's where it's an exact circle, well, you know, close enough. So I give myself about a 1/2 inch. I may end up clipping off more, but I'd rather clip off more than you know, not have enough. And I get my little cutters ready before I start filming. And then I clip off. I clip off a ring. And then I put it on here. And it's not necessarily easy because it's now a spring in essence. Use my little pliers to force it on there. Maybe I'll edit this part out. Me being a jerk, not able to do the thing I said I was going to do. Alright, so I get it on there. It's really tight. See if I can knock it down a bit. This will knock it down. And then I push it down. And I try and line it up so that the cross is where the lines cross is on one of these upper parts, so that they'll be spread out. At least that's how it's worked for me. I guess I haven't tried it so many options and documented my results, but this seems to be working okay. So I can just jam this thing down on it and line up the fish mouths there. and it will kind of push it into the right shape. However, this wire doesn't, there's nothing keeping it wrapped around here except its spring tension from being wrapped around the 1/2-inch pipe. So I was lucky enough to find that this piece of, I don't even know what it is, PVC, fits right over there. Look at that. So it contains the wire. So it can't splay out. It can't be forced out of the die because it's all covered in. So now I just make sure I'm kind of lining up and I put it at the bottom. It's already wanting to come out. And I give it some slams. And lo and behold, we have a ring. Now it's not perfect because I don't know the exact length to cut off of here. When I've tried to get close, I've cut it too small. So now I give it a little bit extra, so you can see there's some extra. And I've cut it off now, but don't, because this is smaller than the real handle. So when we force it onto the real handle, oftentimes, I say oftentimes it comes a lot closer. So I think we are gonna, well, maybe not. Maybe we'll force that through the die one more time. We'll flip it around and put it in the die. Doesn't look quite perfect anyway. Yeah, we'll spin it to the other side, and we'll put our collar on, top of the die on, line them up, so that is obviously the part that goes out. So this should be aiming down. So if we take our needle nose, this kind of wire is not the easiest thing to bend. It's not aluminum. And then we slide it on to our actual handle, and it's a tight fit. Why is that one lopsided? I don't understand why this one's lopsided. None of the other ones are lopsided. Look at that. Why is it lopsided? It looks like it's sticking out his tongue at me. What's up with that? How did that... Was it not contained by the... Geez, the first one was contained beautifully. This one, not so much. We're going to try this again. See if we can fix our luck. Yeah, it's wanting to come out of the die. I don't think we're fixing this lopsidedness. So we'll try with another one. Let me pause and we'll get one set up. Alright, so we've got another ring set up in our little die. And we put on our sleeve. I'm not sure, it probably has a name in an industry, but not sure what it is. And this time I'm going to try it, since that one messed up. I'm going to try it with the place where they cross at the deep part. You know? I'll try anyway, to see what happens. Alright, are you ready? Before I was hitting it with a hammer, so let me try that. People are sleeping, so I'm hoping that let's turn it around. Give it another whack. And with any luck, we've got a reasonable ring. And it looks like I cut it a bit short. But let's put it on our reel handle. I wish I had some things that fit over the reel handle, some pipe, but I do not. So there it is. It's kind of sharp on that end, kind of swoopy on that end, but I can make that work. I can bring those two ends together, and I can weld them together. Not on the handle. I guess I could, I could pick where I was going to have them. I could measure it out, make the rings, and weld them on where they go, and then weld them there, because it can be difficult with this just sitting in space like that, in a vise pinched together. This wants to melt away when I put the TIG welder on it, even at a very low power. As soon as it starts to melt the steel, it starts to melt back because there's really nothing to it. An aluminum bar, aluminum round that this fit over would be great. I do not have one of those, but I'm happy with this one, so there's another one to add to the pile. Difficult to do things with these gloves on. But when I take them off, I pinch and scratch and break my fingers. So sometimes they need a little bit of adjustment because there's a little space, but as you can see, as soon as I close it up tight to the handle, it comes together nicely. And I'm happy with that. I get this copper off of here. It's TIG, welding wire, so it's got a copper coating. So I just sand that off of there, and I may end up, once they're welded on, I may end up tapping it with a hammer just to give it a flattened edge. I hope I'm in frame there, kind of. But I'm happy with these, and I've made, I think I have 1, 2, 3. I think this is number 5 that worked. There are several that I made that I cut too short, and so they didn't come close enough to meet. But that's okay, you gotta have practice ones. So I'm gonna keep making these. You can make your own, or if you come up with a better solution, let me know. Because I racked my brain for days trying to figure out how I was gonna do this. And I could not figure out anything else. I bought some armature wire, some aluminum armature wire, that I made a little PVC die, and that easily formed the aluminum armature wire into this shape, a nice shape. However, it was a crazy alloy, and it would not weld. It just melted away. So I gave up on that. And I couldn't find anywhere that sold like 2 or 4 gauge solid aluminum wire for, like, what do you call it? For your, from the street to the house. It has a name. Anyway, that wire. Nobody around here carries that. So anyway, we're going with this. So I'm going to make some more, and then we'll pick up later on.